Hello, this is KB7CQ Bruce, and I built this little kit off of AliExpress of this 3D printed key. I mainly did it for, let's just say, the entertainment. I thought it would be fun to try it and see if it would how it was. So what I thought I would do, the only reason I'm doing a video is maybe if somebody watches this, maybe this thing doesn't come with much instructions. Well, it doesn't come with any. And you know, I'm pretty good at building and figuring stuff out, but you know, there's just enough things to throw you for a loop, so you end up taking stuff apart a bunch of times, and that part is a little frustrating. So I just thought I'd maybe give you a little, well, just at least show you what you're in for. The key really isn't worth it, but if you like building stuff, and you could certainly play with it, and if you don't mind parting with about 13 or 14 bucks. There's a lot of other stuff on the site that I think, looking back, that I should have got elsewise, but I will try to at least point out a couple of things that might help you out. So I'm not like some Premo YouTuber. So anyway, first thing is these handles. This is the part that comes up, so you can see the profile here. That part's up, the sweep up goes that way, and you wouldn't believe how many times you can mess this thing up between the left paddle or the right paddle. I marked them because I had to take it apart, you know, which side goes up. And so, you know, when you first start out, you don't know whether these screws here come from the bottom up, and there's some little nuts, and you don't know whether they go down, and the same with this other one. And so basically, the middle screw goes up, and I wish they would have sent a washer and a nut to tighten down on the bottom there, just to make it a little more sturdy. But that, so you can see all the ways that you can make a mistake. So these little screws, I started out putting the wire out here on the outside and the screw going in there. Well, you know, there was no way that worked. There's not enough room for everything to fit. So I ended up putting a wire on the inside, and that's the only way I could make that work. And the mistake I made that was my fault was I took my ohm meter and plugged the cable in, and the little cable, I kind of like it. It's kind of a silicone rubbery cable, and it seems okay. It's good to throw in your kit, so I probably will put it in my other kit. So anyways, so between getting these mixed up, I had to resolder these wires on, so they didn't end up as pretty. But I had to, they did send some shrink tube, and so if I did it over again, I would have put a small piece on each one of these. But the bottom line is, you really can't have them hit anyway, so I had to put this, here, I can't do this very good, but I had to put this one above the middle of where the spring goes, this little solder on piece, and then I had to put this one below, down here below the thing. And then, so what I did is, you want to talk about pulling your hair out, I took and just lightly trimmed a toothpick with my cutting knife, and there's two little holes there, and I stuck the toothpick through on each side. Didn't get them exactly even, but then I made that so that the spring could go on there, because if you don't do that, then you end up fighting that spring all over the place. So that just, and I don't know if I can do this on camera, but I just use the tweezers to get that down in there. So that made a huge difference. Couldn't do it with my fingers very good. I'm getting too old and jiggly. So then that was one thing. And so I put the washer out here on the outside with these two screws. Don't know if that's right, but that's what I did. So the other frustrating thing was this 3mm or whatever size jack that is. The first time I went to plug that cord into it, plugged the cord in, and it just popped this ring off because it wasn't threaded on very far, and just pushed this back. So I've hot glued the little audio socket in place. I suppose you could, a Dremel is your friend. You could take your Dremel and lightly and very carefully machine that plastic just a hair thicker so that nut would go on just a little further, but I decided it was going to have glue to put that together, so that's what I did. And so that's the main things that I did. Some people said the spring felt all right. I thought the spring was a little bit too heavy. I wished I had several more springs that I could put in there to try to do it. My wires are almost good enough. They didn't end up quite right because I had to unsolder them and fiddle around with them, and I didn't have enough stuff to do it twice. So that was what I did there. And of course, your ground wire hooks on the bottom here and goes up through, and so you could have had a short piece of shrink tube on that as well, but I don't know, it might have been pretty hard to get in there. And so then the other thing is, when these come together in the middle, the other problem that I ran into, as delivered by the factory, that opening has to go down over the paddles, and it's too tight. When I put it together the first time, it just had the contacts just totally forced closed with when I had the cover on. So I had to take the Dremel and shave take very carefully. Don't go all the way down, but I had to very gently shave the sides here till I could kind of get the gap on the contacts. So that's very hooky. It's too bad there isn't some kind of an adjustment screw, and I got a little carried away with the Dremel, and one side is just slightly wider than the other side and is a little bit too much of a gap, so they're not evenly spaced. So I'm kind of contemplating on how I might build that plastic back up right there, but as it's made, it's too tight to work well on the thing. So anyways, as you can see, these paddles, you can see where I can't get my finger in there quite right without blocking the thing. You can see that hinge point is round further on the inside here on both sides. Otherwise, if you flip the paddle over, it's clear over here, and that ain't right. So you can have it flipped over, but you can have it flipped over right here or over here. And depending on what you do, it could still be right, but then this top piece, you could have it right where the hinge point was correct, but then this top piece would hang down, and I thought that's kind of how it needed at one point, because I put the top on, it wouldn't fit. But then when I went the other way, then it was a real mess. Then this piece here crashed into the bottom really bad, so I actually had to grind this top back here just a little bit on the top and angle it just a little bit so those paddles would fit in there. So it's kind of a butcher job getting it all together. So that was my experience with this little key. Just thought I'd share it.